Hi everyone, Natasha here, and around my home today we are back in the kitchen so that I can share with you my fourth quarter bullet journal. So if you've been following along, you'll know that I've basically had to change notebooks every quarter this year. So what I've been in so far has been this minimalism art journal, and I have my Jordan Essentials sticker on there from Jordanvention this year, and it's worked out pretty well. I've mostly filled it up. I have changed a little bit just in my planning, so I'm going to have some pages that aren't used, and that's fine. I'm not too worried about that. But this notebook does have very thick paper. It's more like a cardstock. I don't know the weight offhand, but it's definitely heavier than a Leuchtturm, fewer pages, and then the notebook binding and cover itself are just really thick. So I am actually really excited to be moving out of this journal. It's been interesting. I'm glad I tried it just so that I know, but it's very heavy. It's been cumbersome to carry around, and I'm very excited and ready to switch over to my Leuchtturm again. So this is a 1917 in black. It's just the standard one, so it has the two bookmarks and the regular pages. I have had the one that came out with the anniversary edition that came with the book, and it had the black edges to the pages and three bookmarks, and that was great. But this is what I'm using for this quarter. So as you can see, some of the supplies I've used, I went a little bit different route and used the Mildliner brush pens this time around, and I really like how those work. I seem to go to these more often when I'm trying to make a thick line across, one dot section of my notebook. But then the fine tip on these is actually finer than the other fine tip on the regular Mildliner. So just kind of depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes I will use the brush tip on this marker, but then in the same color I'll switch over to the other marker to get the fine tip because I don't want it quite so fine as what this is. So anyway, moving on. And then I of course have my Tombow markers. So I still am enjoying the mono drawing pens for things like setting up headings. And I used a 3 and a 5. Typically 3 was for drawing lines, and 5 is more for making headings. I did use the I think this is the Pentel sign pen, and that has that sort of like flexible tip that's kind of like a brush, but it's a little stiffer than that. And it's okay. I don't love it, but I do better with it than I do like a full brush pen for smaller headings. And then of course I still love my friction erasable pens. I really like these with the clicker end where you don't have to take the cap off to erase. And I've gotten refill ink cartridges for these for over a year now, and they've held up great. So I continue to use this as my daily writing pen, and then often if I'm setting up smaller headings within that day, I'll use it as well for that, and it's working well for anything like that. The only thing with these is I don't know how color fast they are long term. I do know they're water soluble, so if you splash some water or coffee or something on your page, you're going to have some problems. But typically, I don't have too much trouble with it, so I think it's a good pen for me for everyday use. So, just so you can compare, look at how much thinner this Leuchtturm is. It's basically half the width, and I am so excited to be getting back to this. And I have noticed that in using some of the notebooks with a thicker page, while it has the benefits of no ghosting or very minimal ghosting, I don't know, something about having to turn basically like a page that's a cardstock weight versus, in a book like this, when you're turning pages, it feels like a notebook or a book. I just have realized I enjoy this type of paper better, even though it has the drawback of more ghosting and more chance of bleed through. But that is where I'm at. So on this one, what I've done so far is set up basically my calendar pages, and I'm continuing to do the method where I keep the calendar section more towards the front of the notebook, and then collections start at the back and I work my way in. So you can see I've already marked out tabs for October, November, December, and then I did start a section for routines because I'm going through the STEP program, and STEP stands for, oh goodness, Steps to Everyday Productivity, I think. And anyway, part of that is weekly routines for going through things at my desk, and it's been very helpful and I'm enjoying it, so I wanted to have a place to be able to mark those out. I did buy the pen loop to add to this because I like having a pen loop, I've decided. And you can see I've just taken a pencil and marked the center of the pages, and this really helps when I'm setting up pages on a daily basis. Sorry, my bench has a wobble there. But it's so nice to just be able to glance up or glance to the side and find the center of the page, just like that. I don't have to count any dots or anything. So I haven't even filled out my contents yet, but I will start just like I've done before, where at the top of this list, I'll start with the front pages and the calendar pages, and then I think, yes, so then the bottom of this page, I'll work backward and list what I have at the back first. So I'll show you that real quickly. So I do have a little pen test page there for some of the new markers. I did my grid spacing guide because it's so helpful, and I'm so glad that I had discovered that. So thank you, Amanda Rach Lee. That's who I saw it from. So I've continued to keep that up in every notebook I start, and it's just really handy to have. And the only other thing I have at the back right now are, it is this note, sorry, it's the afternoon and I think I needed another cup of coffee. This is my moon phase calendar. I use it for two things. I do like being able to see the phases of the moon and track those, and it's interesting to use these affirmations. Lately I haven't been getting into that as much, but it's just helpful to know. And then I also use this as my cycle tracker. So each notebook I've had this year, I've just reprinted this page, stuck it in there, and I've done the 3 months worth of tracking for that notebook. So that's it for those collections. The only other thing I will show you is I started off with my routine section here, and I have my morning routine, my evening routine. Some of this is just sort of the ideal day, what I'd like it to be. Some of it's kind of a reminder to myself that I just need to make sure I'm doing things like cleaning up toys at the end of the day. I'm really bad about sort of getting tired and just saying, oh heck, I'll leave it. And so the toy clutter just stays there, and then tomorrow we'll add to it and it gets worse. So I'm really trying to be better about encouraging my daughter to do the pickup, but helping, and doing it along with her. So anyway, then I have my weekday routines, and I'm not sure how much I will use this, but I have a flexible schedule. My husband and I have a home-based business, plus I work some part-time jobs and work from home. So just because of all of those things, and we have, some activities we do on a weekly basis, our weekends are always different with our home-based business. We never quite know, we know ahead of time, but it's just every week's different. So I just thought this might be handy for me to be able to jot down the things that I know for sure need to be happening on certain days of the week. And it's mostly just keeping up with things around the house, like the day that the trash needs to go to the road because it gets picked up on Monday. The ideal days that I want to make sure I get a good swish and swipe of the 2 main bathrooms that we use, partly just because that's sort of been my habit, but also as a reminder, because by the time we get to the end of the week and Thursday, I'm usually really busy and focused on getting everything prepped for the weekend. And so I need that reminder to do that on Thursday. And then sight words, these are just things, working with my daughter in the evening. She's in kindergarten now, so we're working on our sight words. So that's just something I thought I'd try. And, with things like this, I've found sometimes I just want to get it all out of my head and on paper. And even if I don't reference it again, it's a good exercise for me to do it. Because I think it keeps my brain from continuing to run that thought process of, well, maybe I should do this on that day, and what if I did that on that day? If I just write it out, then it's done, and I don't keep thinking about it. Then I have my zone cleaning tracker, so I'm trying this out for this quarter, and basically I've just gone through and listed the things I could think of off the top of my head. I have made zone cleaning trackers in the past, and the list is a lot longer, and I have found that it's things that I don't necessarily think I really need to be doing. I've just gotten them from other people's lists. So this time around, I didn't even reference anything. I just went through and thought about in each space, what would I most likely think I needed to clean. And that's what I've added to my list. And if you've been following along, you know that I really need to do some decluttering in the basement. There are more than 6 shelves down there. I think there are probably like 10 or 12, but I thought this might be good because I think I just need something to get me started and to be able to see some small wins. So I just listed out 6 shelves. I'll start at the left and work my way to the right and see if I can get through each level on each shelf and be able to cross it off when I do. So keep an eye out for more of those videos. I know I have promised that for a long time now, and I guess I should interject here that part of the whole, family business and all that, I don't know why I think that I can do more in a day than I can, but I always get excited when my daughter gets into school and the fall hits because I have all these big plans of things I want to get done in September and October. But at the same time, September and October is the busiest time for our family business. So why I think I can get all these things done, I don't know. But that's that's how it's happened again this year. September has flown by, and I feel like all I've done is just barely keep up with the things that needed to be done for the business, for our family, for the home. I haven't really had tons of extra time and all these extra days of just nothing to do where I can really focus on big, cleaning projects or sorting projects. And so anyway, it's coming. It might not be till November. I'm going to try for some in October, but I thought this might be good because I can work on one box for 15 minutes. I may not be able to spend 2 hours down in the basement, but there are some days, at least one day a week that I could just work on one box off of one shelf and start and get something done. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for your patience and understanding. All right, and then the last page I have so far is a weekly review, and this, as I mentioned, is from that STEP program, and I will link it below. I'm not affiliated. I just discovered it, and I have really been enjoying it, and I feel like it's tying everything together for me that I have known but have struggled with making all the pieces fit together and work. So I really recommend it for that reason. It takes some of the fly lady, some of the getting things done, just several systems like that, I mean, if you're like me, I've heard of them, I know what they are, I know how they work, but sometimes implementing them on a daily basis into the, details of my life is where I sort of get lost and I don't know how to proceed or how to make it work for me. And so this whole system has really helped with that. I would like to get through it faster. They have a whole, checklist of training videos, and I'm working my way through those. Again, high hopes for September. And here we are, it's almost October, so it's coming. All right, now let me show you the calendar pages, and I'll talk about that for a little bit. So I went ahead and just found a calendar that I had gotten as a freebie, and I cut out the 20 and 21 calendars, so I have that as a reference. And I haven't decided, but I may even, I think I just stuck this down with some of that repositionable double-sided tape, so I may try to pull this out and put it in my new binder or my new notebook for 2020, but we'll see. If not, it's no big deal. I can find another one or print one off, or at the very worst, just hand letter it. So, and then this is our school calendar. I wanted to have these notes as a reference because I do find, sometimes when we're talking about family plans, like with my siblings and extended family, it's just helpful to know when is your summer break, when is our summer break, when is your spring break, how do they all fit together? And then I do have a place to jot down any appointments as they come up for 2020 so that I have a place to reference when I'm setting up that notebook. Okay, then I did go ahead and hand write in the holidays for 2020. I don't know how much I'll reference that, but again, some of the organizations I'm involved with, we're setting schedules pretty far out, 6 to 9 months out. So it is helpful to be able to reference that and have a spot where I know I can look it up. And again, just a place for notes. So these could be either projects I want to make sure we work on or things that come up or, somebody says they're getting married, but they don't have a date set, just things like that. Then we have my personal year. So if you've been following along, you know that I use the Louise Hay system, or she has a little book actually it explains the system, but her book is called Colors and Numbers, so you can look that up and I'll try to link it below. And it's basically a numerology system. I like using it because, for one, it alleviates a decision each morning because I use it to set up my wardrobe for the week, and so that helps me decide what I'm going to wear each morning. And I also like looking at the yearly and the monthly overall information. So for me, the year of 2019, this is what has applied to me. I just noticed I forgot to cross a T here, so we'll do that. And it's been, I think, very interesting just to see how things have gone and how my life has kind of flowed in this direction. So I also have a place for my goals, which I will transfer over. And then I go into October. So I'm keeping these large calendar boxes because I'm switching over to a Leuchtturm. The number of dots and the spacing is a little different from what I was using in my previous notebook, so I had to work that out, and I decided to make Friday and Saturday and Thursday, I believe. These each have an extra dot in the width, and that makes sense for my life because like I said, our family business is really busy on the weekends, so that helps to have that extra space for that. I did write in just the full moon and new moon and Halloween, of course. So I'll probably go in once I'm done filming this and add in any appointments I have, and even just things like the trash pickup day and all that. But I have found I like having a big calendar spread like this just to be able to see at a glance what the week, if it's the week or what the whole month is looking like. It just helps me to have a big picture view like this. Then I have my personal month. So for me, October is a personal month 3, and this is the information again from that Louise Hay book, so you can read through that if you like. I'll have a place here to write down the left-hand side. These are things that I sort of jot down as I go through the month, and then the right-hand side, these are my goals for the month, so I'll fill that out. I have a gratitude page. It's, I think, a really nice practice that I've enjoyed having and keeping up is having a gratitude page. I didn't number it because, I don't know, I felt like maybe I want to be a little more loose with it this time around, and if I need to write 2 lines for one day and 1 line for another day, without numbering it ahead of time, I have the flexibility to do that. And I do receive the boho berry box, so the habit tracker sticker is in there from the boho berry box, and I'm going to try again to use it. I still go back and forth. For September I used it partly, and then I just sort of have gotten busy and not used it, but I like having it as a reminder, especially for my miracle morning tasks. But I have to remember to flip back and use it, so that's where I kind of struggle with using a monthly habit tracker, but we shall see. All right, so here is my first week setup, and I've decided for this go in this notebook to set up every week. I've left the right-hand side empty so that I can play around with how I want to set it up. I typically will have essentially the 4 or 5 task specific list, or what is that called? It's the task list that's for specific places. So I usually have one that's for my desk, one that's errands, one that is contacts, or that would be phone calls and emails I need to make, and then just a general task list. And I have started breaking out my zone tasks for that week. Sometimes it seems helpful, sometimes it seems redundant. So that's why I've left it empty, because I want to play around with a layout and see if I find one I like better than what I've been using. I'm just sort of getting bored with setting up the one that I've been using all year long, and I'm ready for a change. So I have at least given myself a place to write appointments in for each week, and then as the week's coming up, I can work on setting up my lists however they want to look, if it's just one big list or if I want to break it out into context-based next actions. That's what I was trying to say. So That's what this section is for, is context-based next actions. That's hard to say today. And then we go into November, which I will show you that in my November setup video along with any updates. But I do have the month and the week set up for November and December. And I didn't leave any room for daily pages because my plan is then I'll just use pages here in the middle for my dailies, because I do run into that where, like right now, while it's really busy, it's hard for me to keep up with a whole lot of journaling each day. So then I'm only using half a page. And so I thought it might be better just to go back to the more traditional bullet journal style of just doing your dailies as they come up and as you need them. So I'll have lots of pages here in the middle for that, and I will let you know how that goes. So that is my October setup in my Leuchtturm 1917 notebook for 2019. It's kind of amazing that we're getting into the fourth quarter, but I feel ready. I feel excited. I'm happy for the holidays to be around the corner. I always look forward to those, and I think, the end of the year is going to hopefully finish out strong and be a good way to wrap things up. And then I'm excited to be thinking about starting a new year, although it's kind of crazy to say that it's going to be 2020. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below how you're feeling about that. I have mixed emotions because I remember being in grade school and high school and thinking that seemed so far off that we would be saying the date would be 2020, but here we are. All right, thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this look through my bullet journal and you're ready for October to start. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button down below, and I will look forward to seeing you soon in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.